Alright, all you graveyard shift racers out there tonight, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week comes from none other than Vinewood on Fire with their stunt Mega Ramp Mega Jump 2, and also comes from R24 Real with his stunt GTA Online Big 25 Car Jump. Now, the reason why we picked these two stunts, well, for one, anybody who's able to jump, and now we figured out how big that ramp was, a 525-foot ramp over a closed highway road, is a winner in our book, not to mention pulling off a beautiful 360 fake-out backflip along the way. And to the other stunner, the reason why we picked that stunt, anybody who can put their lives on the line by trying to jump over 25 cars like Evel Knievel while they explode, while they're on fire, is definitely insane enough to be mentioned during this week's Stunts of the Week. And speaking of people who are insane enough to be mentioned on this show, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines and see who was the best of the best for this week for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from the creator Jordy Neals 2001 with his said track City Race Jordy. Now, the reason why in the world we picked this track for this week, not only because it reminds us of one of those cool Playmobil tracks we used to have back in the day, but also because it gives you a chance to go on a leisure trip during this said race that actually involves not only golf carts, but also combat cars that you can use for this said race. So, still a bit of a competition, but at the same time, a nice drive through a cool city that this man was able to create. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for this said track is not only to watch out for explosives that we forgot to mention to you during this said track, but also watch out for the secret shortcut that's included for this said race. And as a respect to the person who created this said race, we cannot tell you where that said shortcut is, but let's just say it will help you win this race. So good luck finding it. And Maestro's telling me that that was mean for me not to tell them where this shortcut is, but in reality, we only found it once and we don't remember where it was. Yeah, that's sort of a problem. You know, our memory's a little bit bad. But besides our bad memory, folks, the next track that we have up comes from Pt.5 with his said track, Tortoise or Hare. And this track, the reason why we liked it, folks, because it reminds us of not only Let's Make a Deal, but also a game I got a feeling that was featured during The Price is Right, with whatever choice you make, whether you go right or left, will lead to a speed boost or a slow down debunker that you'll have to get past for this said race. And the only tip of advice that we have for you race fans out there for this said racetrack is to make sure you pick a bike with good acceleration, just in case you pick up one too many tortoise markers while trying to go for that hare marker, so you can recover from your mistakes during this race. Either that or pick the classic car that I would use, or motorcycle in this case, in the form of a Hakachu to try to get back in the game, just in case you pick up too many tortoise markers compared to hares. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Warlord Wedgie Woo with his said track, hashtag WEG Hot Lappin' Hornet GP. And this said track, the reason why we picked it for this week, because of the litany list of cars that you get a chance to use during it, but also the hairpin turns that are also included during this said track that you can use to your advantage. Because we almost forgot to mention that in certain parts this track does not have barricades that you can knock your opponents off of. And the only tip of advice that we have for you race fans out there, besides going the speed racer route of knocking your opponent off the edge to try to get an advantage during this race, is to watch out and pick a car with good handling during this said track so you're not a victim of getting knocked off the track due to these hairpin turns. Yeah, only advice we can give you for this one. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Liam_2000 with his said track, NASCAR Airport Rumble. And this track automatically reminds me of one of those classic tracks we used to do back in the PS3 days, and not to mention a track on an airport, not bad at all. And the fact that you get a chance to use every car under the sun for the said track is another bonus in our book. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there is to definitely watch out for pileups during this said race, because one good pileup could lead to a bad moment for you if you're caught up in it. And also, if you're able to avoid it, you can definitely get an advantage during this said track. And not to mention, this track does come with a pit lane too, just in case you need to repair your car from the shenanigans that will take place during this said race. Notice, Maestro, that I said will and not can happen during this said race. So also as a tip, like we said before, look out and have your head on a swivel during this race while you're racing during it. And the last but not least track that we have up for this week comes from none other than Genopa with his said track, G Wind Farm Circuit. And the only tip of advice that we have for this cool track that allows you to race on every car across the board with the exception of utility and vans is this: make sure you pick a car with good handling. Because in traditional Genopa fashion during any form of circuit-like tracks, this one includes hairpin turns. And if you're not prepared for those said hairpin turns, it will cost you during this said race, and not to mention you may fly over the barricade, which will also cost you during this said race. So make sure you pick a car with good handling to avoid all of those problems, and you'll be halfway home. And the other half is speed. Definitely speed. And with that said, for this week, folks, wraps it up for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And oh, before I forget, folks, we do have a playlist for this race called the Heat Wave that you can try out all these tracks plus others to get well over $100,000 to $200,000 for doing all these races with your friends. So go out there and good luck, you race fans, you. And with that said, folks, we might as well head back into this music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't go insane in oceans of madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned.